Known as the most terrifying, legendary assassin the world has ever seen, Gungnir has surprisingly transitioned into the life of an ordinary high school student. However, his new identity does not diminish his capabilities, as he can still effortlessly neutralize a group of thugs with ease. Having eliminated his final targets in the shadows, he is ready to embrace a peaceful new life. To understand his current situation, it's necessary to examine his past. This man, the most formidable assassin of all time, was on his last mission before permanent retirement. His objective was to eliminate Chairman Akagi. During the mission, he showcased his godlike speed, reacting to bullets with incredible swiftness and taking down everyone in his way. Akagi, realizing his fate was sealed, begged for mercy. It was then that Hayate, who is also an assassin and Tugi's best friend, killed the chairman for him. The organization they worked for had tasked them with assassinating Akagi, so with the target eliminated, they concluded their job. Shortly after, Tugi noticed a photo on Akagi's phone of the chairman with his daughter. This sight made him resolve to no longer live a life of killing, prompting his official retirement. Tugi then started for home, where his beloved girlfriend Mirai was waiting to cook a meal for him. On the way, Hayate praised Tugi's expertise, calling him the amazing #1 assassin. While everyone feared Tugi's name and reputation, Hayate believed it was beneficial for their line of work. He was saddened that his best friend was retiring for good, but Tugi was finished with his job and wanted to live a normal life. This desire began when he met Mirai. He yearned for a peaceful existence with her and their dog, John, which offered him a rare warmth he had never experienced before. Hayate thought it would be a difficult transition for an assassin whose only known skill was how to kill. Unexpectedly, the ruthless assassin was also preparing to propose to his girlfriend. Returning home, Tugi looked dapper and ready for his new life of normalcy, feeling an uncharacteristic nervousness about meeting his lover. However, the smell of blood put him on edge, and a sense of terror washed over him. As he rushed inside, ready to start his new life with Mirai, his hopes were turned to ashes. He found Mirai lying in a pool of blood alongside his dog. Defeated, he approached her, questioning what could have led to this. Sensing a presence just behind him, he called out to his best friend. Hayate complimented Tugi on his consistent ability to know when he was being followed. He then revealed that the organization would not allow someone like him to live a retired life, especially since Tugi refused to help them achieve their goals. Hayate viewed Mirai as an obstacle, which motivated him to kill her in an attempt to set Tugi free. Acting on the will of someone named Odin, he then executed Tugi while he was vulnerable and grieving, expressing regret over the loss of the world's greatest assassin. In his final moments, Tugi contemplated a harsh reality. He believed that a man with his past could never attain a happy ending or a normal life. Because of his choices, his lover had suffered the ultimate consequence for the actions of a murderer who had dared to dream of a different life. However, his existence did not end there. While unconscious, he began to hear several murmuring voices assisting him. These voices were unfamiliar until he finally opened his eyes again. This time, he was no longer Tugi the assassin, nor was he dying beside the people he loved. In a state of panic, he struggled to get out of the bed. His vision remained blurry until he caught sight of his reflection in a mirror and understood that he was in the body of a completely different person. The once feared and most ruthless assassin of his era was now nothing more than a young boy. A doctor informs the boy, Kaido Fujiwara, that all his tests have been cleared and his month-long rehabilitation cycle was a success. The doctor cheerfully explains that the boy's lost memories should return as he reintegrates into his usual life, suggesting Kaido had amnesia, though this is only a partial explanation. For the former assassin, the last thing he can recall is the heartbreaking image of his girlfriend lying dead alongside his dog. The man known as Tugi, the deadliest killer who had sought to escape his dark past, was betrayed by his only friend, Hayate. The next thing he knew, he had awakened inside the body of a young boy, with an identity completely alien to the cold-blooded killer he once was. There is a great deal for him to process, but during his time in the hospital, he has managed to piece together some information. It appears that Kaido Fujiwara, the body's original owner, was the victim of a traffic accident, having been tragically run over by a truck on his way to school. The boy sustained a life-threatening brain injury, requiring immediate surgery, and subsequently fell into a coma that lasted a month. When he finally awoke, it was not Kaido, but Tugi who occupied the body, and Tugi found himself genuinely curious about the surgical procedure he had undergone. Unfortunately, Tsugi has no memory of what transpired immediately after he was killed. His final recollection from that time was of a voice stating that his brain was perfectly unharmed. Connecting these facts, he realizes that his brain was likely transplanted into Kaido's body. Although confusion about the specifics of his death and rebirth surrounds him, he is overcome by a wave of emotion. The same ruthless assassin begins to weep, grieving for his lost girlfriend and the happy future they were supposed to have. In the following scene, Kaido is discharged from the hospital and is met by his parents. Kyoko, the boy's mother, breaks down in tears, reacting as any mother would upon seeing her child return home safely. His father, Tairu Fujiwara, is revealed to be a manga artist who is equally overjoyed by his son's rapid recovery. The boy's mother expresses concern about Kaido's amnesia, but her husband reassures her that everything will be fine once he returns to his normal routine. Excitedly, they turn to their son for a response. In contrast to their enthusiasm, the only emotion Tsugi can feel is dread. He accepts that his new identity is now intertwined with Kaido's, but he also recognizes that if anyone connected to the events of his past life discovers him, matters could become very complicated. For the moment, however, he puts on a happy smile and assures his new parents that he will be all right. Internally, the deadly assassin has resolved to blend in for now. The scene transitions to their arrival at home. Kaido experiences genuine shock upon seeing the residence, realizing the boy comes from a wealthy family due to the house's immense size. It becomes clear that his father is not just an average manga artist, but a highly successful one. Furthermore, his mother comes from a family of renowned doctors. Kyoko guides the boy to his room. Upon entering, Kaido takes a moment to take in his new surroundings. The assassin observes the room's tidiness and organization, noting that it looks like a typical high schooler's living space. He thinks back to the boy's parents and remembers how they were sick with worry, frequently visiting him at the hospital. This demonstrates how much Kaido is loved and cherished by his family. The thought reminds the assassin of his girlfriend's greatest desire, for him to be happy. He recognizes that this is a type of happiness he could never have experienced in his former life. With this in mind, the assassin Tsugi decides he does not want to live in a way that would disappoint Kaido's parents. His attention is then drawn to an interesting photograph. This one shows not only the boy's parents, but also another family of 3. Seeing this, the assassin understands that he must learn everything possible about the boy's background. The following morning, a visitor arrives. A young woman pulls up in a long limousine just to see Kaido, despite the fact he was discharged only the day before. Her insistence on seeing him suggests they have a long-standing and close relationship. The boy's father opens the door to find the radiant Yuzua smiling at him. She is eager to check on her friend's condition and asks what he is doing. Just as the boy's father is about to reply, Kaido appears and immediately recognizes Yuzua as the girl from the photograph. Without a moment's hesitation, the girl embraces him in a tight hug, expressing her concern for his health. Seeing this interaction, Kyoko is glad that they are bonding together just as they always have. Meanwhile, the boy is keenly observing everyone's reactions and deduces from the information that Yuzua must be his childhood friend. She is excited and wants to give him a ride to school, but Kaido declines the offer, sensing that her family is even more affluent than his own. A man named Taro attempts to intervene, but Yuzua pushes him into the car, promising to take full responsibility for Kaido. She then turns back to announce that there will be a celebratory party for his successful recovery. His parents are left astonished as the pair sets off for school. At the school, a group of thugs is preparing to enact their plan. Their leader, Tetsu, intends to cause trouble for Yuzua, even though his companions are afraid they will get into serious trouble for harming the daughter of an influential figure. Tetsu gives them a severe look, reminding his associates that they are being cowardly for no good reason. He points out that they have already accepted money from a certain individual to do the job, which means they have no option but to see it through. As they are discussing their malicious scheme, Yuzuha's luxurious vehicle arrives. The thugs are surprised to see a boy with her. One of Tetsu's goons explains that the boy is just a normal person who happens to be her childhood friend and was recently in an accident. Upon hearing this, Tetsu becomes intrigued and approaches them with a smile. In the next scene, Yuzua and Kaido part ways to go to their respective classes. The assassin takes a moment to assess her personality, concluding that she is a kind friend who watches over him like an older sister. Upon entering his new classroom, Kaido gets a small taste of a normal life, as he has never attended a proper school before. The boy, unaware of the social dynamics, asks where he should sit, and a classmate greets him warmly. However, The same classmate's smile quickly turns to a look of fear when he sees the imposing figure of Tetsu standing just behind Kaido. The intimidating young man picks on Kaido, declaring that there is no place for him in this class and that he will be coming with them. Shortly after, the group leads him outside. Kaido is initially confused, questioning if his desk is located elsewhere. Recalling how the group was snickering earlier, he senses that they are trying to cause trouble for him, especially with the way they are now staring at him. Annoyed, Kaido demands to know where his seat is, but Tetsu and his underlings only find the situation amusing. The delinquent leader presents the boy with a dilemma. If he begs on his knees, they will let him go after only a few punches. It becomes clear that Tetsu's hostility is fueled by jealousy over the fact that Yuzuha likes Kaido instead of him. Tetsu then threatens the boy, warning him that if he ever dares to approach Yuzuha again, he will kill them both. Kaido takes a moment to process the situation, feeling disappointed to learn that these individuals are genuinely hostile. He feels a sense of sadness, not for himself, but for his new victims who are about to be effortlessly defeated. The assassin had no desire to harm anyone in the boy's body, as he intended to lead a peaceful life. As a final warning, he calmly informs Tetsu that if he retracts his earlier statements, they can resolve the matter without conflict. Naturally, this comment enrages the delinquent, who becomes visibly furious. Pulsing with aggression, he lunges forward with his fist, intending to incapacitate the boy with a single blow. However, the assassin expertly assesses the trajectory of the attack, viewing his opponent as a complete amateur for using such a sloppy punch that exposes numerous weak points. The attack is so slow that Kaido counters it without effort, easily shattering Tetsu's confidence with a single punch of his own. Realizing that more serious measures are required, he executes a graceful palm strike to Tetsu's chin before slamming him to the ground with a judo throw. Throughout this brief encounter, he reflects on how pathetically peaceful this world is compared to the hell he was accustomed to. A short while later, Yuzuha comes rushing to his location to help, only to find him standing calmly in the sunlight among the defeated thugs. It becomes clear that he was never in danger. He was the danger. Yuzuha is astonished, questioning if the person standing before her is truly the same Kaido she has known her entire life. Yuzuha helplessly asks if he is the one responsible for beating up the group. At first, the boy is hesitant, but eventually offers the excuse that he was unwillingly dragged into a fight. It turns out that Yuzuha had also heard the news, which is why she hurried to the rooftop to check on him. She wants to believe that an innocent-looking boy like Kaido could not have been involved in such a brutal altercation. Her belief is challenged when she spots a small amount of blood on his collar, leading her to think he must have been injured. Kaido tries to explain that he is perfectly fine, but Yuzuha is a mess of worry and scolds him for causing her such anxiety. Her worried anger soon shifts to sadness, as she cannot bear the thought of him getting hurt. The assassin is puzzled by her reaction, but apologizes nonetheless. They decide to return to class for the time being, but as they are leaving, Kaido overhears the beaten delinquent murmuring. He is furious and is already planning his revenge. The scene then cuts to the late-night party that Yuzuha had planned earlier. His parents have brought out champagne and a table filled with the most appetizing food. While the boy's parents are laughing and enjoying the moment, Kaido cannot help but be reminded of the image of his beloved girlfriend, Mirai. She would often smile at him in the same way and urge him to eat his food quickly. In that past memory, hearing his girlfriend's words transformed the man from a killing machine into an eating machine, and even their dog wanted a taste of the food. That night, Tugi had gone to his girlfriend and wondered if that was what it felt like to experience a happy moment with family. That same emotion is now channeled into his current self as he finally understands what a normal life is like. At the party, Yuzuha appears to be running late, even though the celebration was her idea. The boy's father mentions that Yuzuha has been going through some difficult times recently, though she never lets it show and always maintains a brave facade. Suddenly, an unsettling feeling creeps up on the boy, as if his instincts are warning him of imminent danger. Prompted by this feeling, he checks his phone and sees an incoming call from his childhood friend. He answers and asks about her, only to hear the voice of the same punk from earlier. The thug is pleased that he understood the situation so quickly, and invites the boy to a specific location, providing coordinates. He adds that if Kaido refuses to come, they will ensure Yuzuha suffers the consequences. To prove the threat is serious, he reveals that both Yuzuha and her driver are being held hostage. Yuzuha's voice can be heard in the background, pleading with him not to come. However, hearing her confirms everything he needs to know, and he realizes they will harm her if he does not act quickly. He asks for the directions, which the delinquent readily provides. After the phone call ends, Kaido pretends he was speaking with a different friend. He informs his parents that he needs to leave for a quick errand and assures them that he will return soon. The scene then shifts to a dark and abandoned factory, where nearly a dozen armed men are waiting for his arrival. Not only that, but the leader of an organization is also present, while his bodyguard is casually working out in the background. The leader is angry that Tetsuya bothered to make the call and slams a can into his face to show his displeasure. He is attempting to maintain a low profile, and being summoned to this location puts him at considerable risk. The delinquent then reveals that he has captured Yuzuha in order to carry out an order from the organization. Apparently, they want to interrogate her to obtain secret information related to her inheritance. So far, she has refused to cooperate, constantly insisting that she knows nothing. This is the primary reason Tetsuya called her best friend. He believes that if they threaten to hurt the person who is always around her, she will finally reveal what she knows. If successful, he will have completed his order, and as a reward, Tetsuya will officially secure his place within the organization. The leader agrees to this plan, but warns the young man about what will happen if he fails his task. A muscular man named Inokami is not one for conversation. His sole purpose is to kill. He demonstrates his immense power by throwing a dumbbell with such incredible speed that it demolishes a wall. Inokami's mere presence is enough to terrify the blonde delinquent, who understands that if he fails his mission, he will be the next one to be eliminated. Yuzuha yells at her captors, which only worsens her situation by provoking them further, while her assistant attempts to calm her down. Unfortunately, this interference enrages Tetsuya, who proceeds to beat the assistant, slamming him with his foot for meddling. He orders his underlings to take the assistant aside, and then refocuses his attention on Yuzuha, assuring her that if she does not talk, her childhood friend will die. Even with this threat, the helpless girl insists that she has no idea what he is talking about. Frustrated, Tetsuya orders his men to bring Kaito to him at once. At their disposal, they have 40 armed thugs and a former wrestling behemoth who was responsible for killing a man in the ring. With such overwhelming odds, they believe there is no way the boy can emerge victorious. The blonde is certain that Kaido will not be able to get past Inokami, which will ultimately force Yuzuha to reveal everything she knows. The perspective then shifts to the boy, who has finally located the factory. Outside, he finds a group of men who are about to become his next victims. He casually walks past them without any sign of fear. One of the men quickly recognizes him as their target, but it is already too late. The boy effortlessly neutralizes them with painful strikes to the neck, incapacitating them in an instant. With the first 3 men defeated, the rest of the thugs charge forward, only to meet their doom as the high schooler easily defeats them, at one point shoving a man into a trash bin. With a murderous expression, Kaido warns the thugs to stay out of his sight if they wish to remain in one piece. Back inside the factory, Tetsuya's boss, Suo, begins to feel concerned that the boy has not yet appeared, wondering if he decided not to come out of fear. He reasons that he is just a kid after all. However, only the blonde delinquent knows that what he fought on the rooftop was not a child, but a demon. He tries to explain to his leader that their opponent is not normal. As if on cue, they hear their men outside chanting Fujiwara, Kaido's family name. Yuzuha is shocked, while the cowardly blonde is terrified for his life. The door suddenly bursts open as a man's body is thrown through it like a paper ball, landing right at Tetsuya's feet. Excited by the challenge, the muscular maniac Inokami turns to meet his target. Meanwhile, the seemingly harmless boy reminds Tetsuya of the warning he had given him previously. He mentions that he is having a difficult time holding back his strength just to avoid killing them. Mr. Suo is completely baffled, questioning how a single child was able to annihilate 20 thugs all by himself. After adjusting his tie to project an intimidating presence, Kaido demands to see his friend. Yuzuha's scream echoes through the factory as she worries that he has come for her. Thanks to the sound of her voice, he pinpoints her exact location 30 meters ahead of him. He is relieved that she seems to be unharmed and proceeds to scan his surroundings for the hostile men preparing to attack. In a span of time that appears to be no more than 53 seconds, he moves with incredible speed around the room, shocking the boss with his godlike ability as he takes down every single man. Even Tetsuya is left crawling on the floor in fear, realizing they have made a grave mistake. The fear of death overwhelms him as the boy grabs him and clenches a fist, promising to make him suffer for his actions. In the moments that follow, he throws a series of lightning-fast punches, precisely shattering Tetsuya's clavicles, lower ribs, and elbows. As if that excruciating pain were not enough, he then slams him into the nearest wall with a simple push. Mr. Aitai. Suo's men are all terrified and have no desire to be defeated by the boy. They want to flee, but he reminds them that they are being paid to do a job. Suo is beginning to understand the true level of danger they are facing. Their target is not a helpless boy, but a monster. Because she is blindfolded, Yuzua has not seen any of this unfold. Kaido approaches her and assures her that everything is going to be all right. Just as he is about to untie her ropes, the behemoth Inokami throws a heavy punch at him. The attack appears to connect with a powerful blow, and Yuzua screams in panic. For a moment, Suo thinks they might actually have a chance of victory, thanks to the former pro wrestler's monstrous physique. Unfortunately for him, when the dust settles, it is revealed that the punch did not connect at all. In fact, Kaido has already launched a counterkick against his opponent, stopping him in his tracks. The maniacal wrestler ignores this and prepares another attack, but it is also redirected by Kaido, who follows up by hammering a devastating punch into his face. The blow is brutal enough to shatter his nose, yet the wrestler still believes that Kaido's strength is not enough to defeat him. Having exchanged a few blows, the assassin internally concludes that he is dealing with the strongest member of the group. He also recognizes that because of his current body of a high school student, it is difficult for him to defeat this opponent in a single move as he normally would. Therefore, he opts for a different approach. Just as the wrestler is about to strike him again, the boy moves with incredible speed, vanishing from his sight and setting his new target as Inokami's ribs. From that position, Kaido unleashes a heavy barrage of hits, all concentrating on that singular point. He knees and punches him repeatedly, until the muscular man is overwhelmed by terror and knocked unconscious. Seeing their most formidable fighter defeated so completely, the remaining 6 men flee, which is likely the wisest decision they have made. Although Kaido would normally finish off his targets, his current priority is to ensure Yuzuha's safety. He quickly undoes her ropes and puts on a happy expression, telling her how glad he is to see that she is okay. He assures Yuzuha that the situation is now under control, and that her assistant, Kawai, is also going to be fine. An experience this traumatic is not normal for a young woman like her, which leads Kaido to wonder if she is afraid. Hilariously, however, she grabs his tie and instead of thanking him, becomes furious with him for choosing the most reckless course of action imaginable. She points out that he could have simply called the police or consulted with adults to resolve the situation, but instead, he made a dramatic entrance and fought 40 men all by himself. Still, Yuzuha expresses her gratitude that he went to such lengths to protect her, but she admits it pains her every time he puts himself in that kind of danger. Her current state is once again reminiscent of Mirai, who would always tell Tugi to return home safely, constantly worrying that she might lose him one day. Kaido understands her feelings and promises his friend that from now on, he will never make her worry again. Their quiet moment is interrupted by the groans of Kawai, the unfortunate man who was beaten for no reason. Soon after, Kaido hears the sound of police sirens and realizes the authorities have arrived, telling Yuzuha that it is time for them to go home. Elsewhere, Suo has barely managed to escape, still unable to comprehend how even the muscular enforcer was incapable of stopping the monstrous child. It is revealed that this man also has his own boss, who appears to be a kingpin in the world of underground crime. This formidable boss reveals that he has already dispatched an operative known as Lancelot to deal with the boy. Now that the young man has interfered with the plans of the Great Will organization, he is going to pay the price. Before that happens, the story returns to the boy's perspective. He is back at home resting on his bed, aware that he made his new parents worry by going off on his own. While they are sleeping, Kaido remembers the concerned expressions on their faces when he returned. Fortunately, the police did not detain him for questioning due to his apparent lack of involvement in the incident. For him, the thugs' mission and their ultimate goal remain ambiguous. There is also the fact that the man in charge, Suo, disappeared after the confrontation. Based on these events, he suspects that a much worse threat is looming in the shadows. As he jogs outside, he reflects on his desire to prevent anyone around him from getting hurt ever again. Suddenly, a volley of projectiles is shot at him, forcing him to leap into the air to dodge them. The man who fired them is baffled that the boy managed to avoid the attack. However, Kaido already knew someone was following him home. He came outside for the specific purpose of luring the spy into an open area, making himself an easy target. Turning to face the man, Kaido questions his motives. The mysterious individual is impressed that the boy was able to sense his presence, even from inside his bedroom. He notes that it is the first time he has ever been discovered like that, which confirms for him that this boy is not just any normal person. Giving credit where it is due, Kaido compliments the spy on his ability to cover his tracks, acknowledging that he is on a completely different level than the thugs he encountered at the factory. Based on these observations alone, it is clear that this man does not belong to normal society, which raises the question of why he was spying on him. Kaido's stalker is equally impressed and suspects that the young man also has connections to his line of work. However, the boy maintains his simple cover, insisting he is just an ordinary high schooler. Refusing to engage in any more conversation, the man draws his blades to begin their confrontation. The scene feels familiar to the protagonist, reminding him of his previous life. The assassin before him officially declares that the life of Fujiwara Kaido is over. This man identifies himself as Sancho of the Great Will Organization, with a rank of number 67. As he assumes a fighting stance, Kaido reflects that he himself was once a member of that very same organization. The perspective shifts to the headquarters of the Great Will Organization. A council member named Akatsuki is expressing frustration that even after kidnapping Yuzuha, they were unable to get any information. Akatsuki believes they should have dispatched a lance for the mission from the very beginning to ensure a quick resolution. To understand the context, this organization is powerful enough to throw the world into chaos, commanding a force of 1,000 assassins. Among these, the top 100 are considered elites and are given the title of Lance. Each Lance is so skilled that they have a success rate of nearly 100% on every job. It is mentioned that two members, Minami and Akatsuki, are similar in this regard. Minami then reveals that they are searching for a specific treasure that has the power to shift the world's balance. This treasure is known as Fenrir's Seed, and Yuzuha is believed to be its current owner. Although they lack definitive evidence, another member named Yoshima reveals that he has already sent Sancho to handle the job. This revelation shocks the other members because using a lance requires direct permission from their leader, Odin. However, Yoshima explains that he has already acquired that permission. His reasoning is that Yuzuha's known bodyguard is weak, so it could not have been him who defeated their men at the factory. This leads them to conclude there is more to the situation than they initially understood. Yoshima deems this unknown enemy a significant threat, and therefore wants to have them eliminated by one of the lances. This brings the narrative back to the fight, where Kaido now realizes he is facing someone from his former organization. The stance Sancho is using is perfected and difficult to read, signifying his elite status as a lance. This also confirms the boy's worst suspicions. Everything related to Yuzuha's troubles is being secretly controlled by the organization. He now understands this is not a simple matter of inheritance, but something far greater. For his part, Sancho quickly observes the boy's stance and remarks that he is clearly not a high schooler. He notes that the kid is completely fearless and seems natural, even with a weapon pointed directly at him. Sensing that the man is a threat to Yuzuha, Kaido lunges forward to strike him down. The first few punches are casually evaded by the expert assassin, who internally notes that the boy is incredibly fast and is accurately targeting his weak points. From this exchange, it appears that Kaido is a high-level assassin in his own right. However, Sancho is no amateur. He nearly stabs the boy in the face, forcing Kaido to create distance between them. From their brief encounter, Kaido has learned about his opponent's specialized fighting style, recognizing that Sancho is a combatant who prioritizes using his range to his advantage. Impressed by the young man's skills, the assassin decides to go on the offensive, leaping into the air. The dynamic of the fight shifts. Although he begins with a butterfly slash, the assassin quickly transitions into a different stance in an effort to overwhelm his opponent. Sancho is genuinely pleased to find that the boy can dodge his attacks like an expert. Meanwhile, Kaido is beginning to realize that he is outmatched in terms of both strength and speed. He concludes that the only way to defeat such an opponent is to use his environment. While the elite lance is pressing his attack, he believes he has finally found an opening to strike the finishing blow. However, much to his shock, as he delivers the attack, Kaido casually slips out of his jacket to evade it before attempting to stab his opponent's neck with a precise swing. Surprisingly, the lance manages to avoid the counterattack just in time and retaliates with a slash of his own. The blade cuts Kaido, and as blood drips down, the reality sets in that he is dealing with an exceptionally powerful lance. He is confronted with his own limitations due to his weaker and untrained physique, while the lance is quite impressed by the boy's attempt to trap him. He remarks on how Kaido's perfected movements show that he is easily a professional in combat, but the one thing he lacks is pure killing intent. The order he received was simply to assassinate a high school student, but now it makes sense to him why a lance was assigned to such a task. Sancho reveals that Kaido is a threat to the organization's intentions with Yuzuha, which is why he must be eliminated immediately. Thanks to this confession, Kaido is now certain that the organization is connected to everything. Deciding to alter his approach, the assassin resolves to activate his combat mode, striking an imposing pose. He will no longer hold back and promises to show the true extent of his killing intent. In response, Sancho lunges forth with a wild and powerful attack form, unleashing what is essentially hundreds of blade strikes aimed at the boy. The lance becomes mindless in his pursuit, even shredding a nearby tree with ease. Meanwhile, Kaido finds a safe spot to hide, realizing that he is dealing with someone far beyond the level of a normal assassin. The frenzied attacker's tornado-like slice destroys his cover, unleashing a geyser of water from a broken pipe. Having suffered another cut on his body, Kaido comes to a new conclusion. He is not only dealing with a lance, but an S-class user as well. His relentless slashes are so difficult to counter that even the boy cannot emerge from the onslaught completely unscathed. Sanju becomes frenzied and accuses the high schooler of also being a killer, then asks if it would be acceptable for Yuzuha to be killed as collateral damage. That remark proves to be a grave mistake, as that specific line triggers a traumatic flashback for Kaido. This time, however, the face of his deceased girlfriend is replaced with that of his friend. Enraged, he lunges forward to tackle the assassin head-on. He smashes the blade out of his opponent's hand, seizes it for himself, and then moves with incredible speed to deliver a sharp cut across the assassin's shoulder. The entire sequence happens so fast that not even an expert lance is able to perceive what went wrong. All he can think about is what kind of monstrous young man he is facing. The boy refuses to experience the same guilt and suffering he did in the past, which is why he vows to protect Yuzuha with his life. The lance believes it is pointless to resist, as he is destined to die by the will of a higher power. Despite a severe shoulder injury, he still wants to fight. From this point on, his endless slashes are useless, because Kaido is expertly matching each and every attack like a seasoned professional. Accusing the high schooler of being a coward, Sanju leaves himself wide open during one of his aggressive attacks. Displacing him, Kaido moves directly behind him, painfully slashing his thigh and belittling the professional assassin for being so reckless. Reduced to such a state, Sanju cannot help but question how his opponent suddenly became so fast. He attempts to reuse the same overwhelming tactics from before, but it ends in disaster for him. Kaido leaves a series of cuts all around his left arm, revealing that his efforts are pointless as he has already read all of his moves. In his next attack, Kaido bursts forward with incredible speed, spinning in a flurry of slashes that connect all over Sanju's body. With a murderous glare, he signals the end for the lance, who is still trying to comprehend how one could master such swift knife work and possess such godlike speed. The boy's fighting style reminds him of the legendary wrath of Gungnir, the #1 assassin among their ranks. Kaido brutally attacks the man's body until he is left gushing out a pool of blood. The fight is over, with Sanju realizing just how outclassed he was from the very beginning. As he pants heavily, the lance trembles in fear, sensing that he can no longer move a muscle because the tendons in his arms have been completely severed. However, the boy is kind enough to leave at least one leg functional for him to use. As for the rest of his abilities, the young killer assures him that his career as a lance is finished, and that he will never be able to kill anyone again. Ruthlessly, Kaido remarks that in this way, the assassin will lose the only part of his identity that he treasures the most, a fate worse than death for individuals who cannot blend into normal society. Before leaving the defeated man alone, the boy states that he has 2 questions, promising to painfully cut his other leg if he refuses to answer. For his first question, he wants to know the name of the individual who issued the order and the specific reason they are targeting the young woman. Giggling like a madman, Sanju reveals that he will not talk, even if he is tortured and killed. He explains that he has sworn loyalty to his one and only god and will never betray his will. The mention of a god confirms everything for Kaido, but unfortunately the sound of police sirens begins to fill the air. Sanju's recklessness during the fight has attracted the attention of the authorities. In that brief window of distraction, the injured assassin manages to use his one good leg to escape. He recommends that the boy should also get out before he is caught. Before leaving, Sanju asks if the boy truly desires to be an ordinary high school student. That question sends Kaido down memory lane, as he recalls how everyone in his past believed he could never experience a normal life, simply because he was a cold-blooded assassin. Even now, as he is covered in blood, that thought clings to him. Is he really normal? Can he even be considered a high school student? That question has yet to be answered. The perspective shifts to the organization's headquarters, where Yoshima learns about the outcome of Sanju's mission. A member named Izumo reports that the lance has been effectively dismantled to the point where he can no longer continue working as an assassin. Akatsuki is amazed by Kaido's ability to take down an expert, beaming with excitement. Izumo confirms that whoever the opponent was, he was a monster, because Sanju described the boy's movements to be similar to those of Gungnir, a name that immediately draws the attention of everyone present. Even Akatsuki thinks it is an overestimation to compare this individual to the strongest knife user who has ever lived. Izumo understands their skepticism, especially since Gungnir's name is not one to be used lightly. Minami breaks up their confrontation, while Akatsuki complains about the special significance of Gungnir. Regardless, they agree that Yuzuha's supposed bodyguard has proven himself to be considerably powerful. Not only did he disrupt their plans, but he also defeated a lance-level opponent. With this new development, Yoshima and the others can no longer afford to wait. The entire incident leaves Yoshima questioning the mystery behind Kaido Fujiwara. Speaking of the boy, he returns to his room and secretly patches up his injuries. He is experiencing something of an identity crisis, knowing that he is supposed to be an ordinary high schooler instead of the assassin he used to be. Unfortunately, he has to help Yuzua escape the organization's attention, and he also knows that they will now target him even more intensely since he defeated a lance. Recognizing that he will be at a disadvantage with a body like this, Kaido resolves to put in the work and become strong again. If he is to preserve this peaceful life, then he must do everything in his power to ensure its safety. Meanwhile, at the Great Will organization, Akatsuki volunteers and expresses a strong interest in taking on the Mystery Man as his next target. The others are surprised by this, but Izumo thinks it is a great idea for a threat of this magnitude. After all, if this individual truly compares to the likes of Gungnir, an ordinary lance will not be sufficient to handle the job. A curious Akatsuki is more than happy to use his high-ranking position to take care of the threat personally. This man is a formidable opponent, as he is ranked 9th overall and is considered one of the greatest assassins in the organization. A day after Yuzuha's kidnapping, Kaido's parents and the young woman hold a large welcome home party for him to celebrate his discharge from the hospital. To show his affection, his father presents an omuris that he worked very hard to make, though this is difficult to believe because the dish looks quite unappetizing. Following that, Yuzuha announces that she also made something extra special for him, placing a plate of mouth-watering beef stew on the table. With a proud grin, she tells him to enjoy her masterpiece while it is still hot. The moment the food touches his taste buds, the boy is instantly transported to a flashback of his past. He recalls a time when he was leaving the house and Mirai asked if he would be out late again. That time, he told her he would be home for dinner because he only needed to meet someone and pick a few things up, giving no hint about his actual work. Mirai was very glad to hear this because she was making his favorite beef stew that day, which made him very happy. With passionate eyes, he told her he would share something important with her when he got back. She then bid him farewell with her precious smile, holding their smiling dog, Johnny, in her arms. While eating the beef stew in the present, Kaido becomes sad, reflecting that he never got the chance to tell her he was quitting his life as an assassin to be with her. Yuzua gets annoyed when she sees his disappointed expression and asks if her cooking really tasted that bad. In response, the boy suddenly begins to devour the meal as if it were his last on Earth. Nearly tearing up, he tells her that it tastes delicious. Yuzua is relieved to hear that, and his mother tells him there is plenty more if he has a big appetite. As he watches his father accidentally set a pan on fire and Yuzuha smiling with a cake, our hero feels deeply grateful from the bottom of his heart to have such a loving family. Later, he walks Yuzuha back to her home, as things have become more dangerous recently. He asks her if she has noticed anything unusual happening around her, but she tells him she has police surrounding her house, so she should be safe for the moment. Kaito then asks why her butler is not with her, and she explains that she personally requested him to stay away because he is so overbearing that it is impossible to have fun with him around. She lets him know that she had a lot of fun at his house, admitting it has been a very long time since she was able to laugh so much. Her expression quickly turns serious, as she confesses that she has been feeling quite down ever since she lost her father. Hearing this, the boy is left completely speechless. Yuzuha realizes she had not told him about it before because she did not want to worsen his amnesia with such stressful news. She explains that it happened approximately 2 months ago, around the same time as the car accident that put him in a coma. Kaido then understands why she was so emotional about the possibility of losing him back then. She had been strong and concealed her sad feelings behind a cheerful personality. The boy apologizes to her for making her worry, but Yuzuha dismisses it as no big deal and points out that he has not changed a bit, which surprises him. She clarifies that while he may have matured a little, even as a small child, he had a habit of being reckless. He would often fight kids much bigger than him whenever they bullied her, despite knowing he could not win. In the same way, he came to rescue her when she was kidnapped, but she was unable to witness his amazing actions because she was blindfolded. Yuzuha becomes suspicious and asks him exactly how he managed to save her. The boy dodges the question with a vague answer, stating that everyone who saw him became incredibly scared. This was technically true, as it happened right after he had defeated their comrades like a monster, but it only makes Yuzuha more doubtful. Still, she decides that it does not matter as long as he was brave enough to come for her in a moment of crisis. Yuzuha confesses that she was terrified when the gangsters were threatening her and Kawai, but when she saw his face, which seemed to glow brighter than the morning sun, she was genuinely happy. For that, she thanks him. Being as smooth as he is, the boy tells her that he will save her no matter how many times she needs him, which causes her to blush intensely. After that, the flustered girl tells him to get in close and pulls out her phone to take a cute selfie with him. Proud of the good photo, she says she will make it her wallpaper to remember the amazing day, not considering the possibility that it might start strange rumors at school. However, Yuzuha quietly adds that it will also help her move on. Seeing Kaido able to worry about her so soon after his own life-changing accident has inspired her to finally stop clinging to the memory of her dad's unexpected death. The boy smiles as he realizes that Yuzuha is struggling in her own way, just like him, and this motivates him to protect his precious childhood friend even more. Right at that moment, he is shocked when she pulls out her phone and shows him the picture of her father. His soul nearly leaves his body when he recognizes the man. He asks for confirmation if the man in the photo really is her father, to which she replies that his amnesia must be serious, because her dad was always so kind to him. With a serious expression, she mentions that many people around her spoke ill of her father, but he was always nice to her, and that is why she loved him from the bottom of her heart. Looking at the picture of Yuzuha's father carrying her on his back, Kaido recalls seeing the exact same wallpaper on a phone screen right after he finished his final mission. Every fiber of his being hurts as he realizes he was the one who stole Yuzuha's father away from her. Seeing how sad he has become, Yuzuha asks him why he got so quiet all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Kaido is left to process everything as he stands before the daughter of the Akagi group chairman, the very man he assassinated in cold blood. He attempts to rationalize his actions, thinking that his friend Hayate was the one who actually pulled the trigger and that he would never have accepted the mission if he knew the target was her father. However, he still feels an immense sense of guilt because he blindly followed the Great Will's directive that Chairman Akagi had betrayed the organization and must be eliminated. He feels even worse because he was completely numb to the act back then, and now his past actions have put Yuzuha in danger as well. He considers telling her that he was once an agent of the very organization that ordered her father's death. He grits his teeth in deep frustration, still unable to come to a final decision. The next day at school, he sits quietly at his desk, while all the girls in his class chat loudly about the new transfer student, hoping that it is a handsome young man. In the end, the boy decides not to tell Yuzuha the truth. He reasons that the organization will not stop pursuing him just because he put a single lance out of commission, which means his only real choice is to continue protecting her at all costs. Just then, the teacher announces that the new transfer student has arrived. When the boy asks for permission to enter, our hero instantly recognizes his voice and stares in utter disbelief. Taking one look at the cheerful, pink-haired boy, he wonders what one of the divine spears could possibly be doing at his school. Remembering the last assassin who came after him, his suspicion is confirmed. The Great Will has sent this operative as a direct response to his interference with Yuzuha's kidnapping. Suddenly, the new student turns to our hero and pierces his very soul with a cold, unblinking stare, openly declaring who his intended target is. There is no doubt at all that the pink-haired young man is Akatsuki, one of the organization's 12 divine spears, who goes by the codename Bident. Sometime later, during a PE lesson, the crowd goes wild for the new transfer student as he casually manages to score yet another basket. The girls are completely smitten with the pink-haired boy, while his teammate is genuinely surprised that he can jump so high despite his short stature. Makoto, Akatsuki's alias, plays it off by complimenting the great pass and motivates his team to score again. Meanwhile, the opposing team grows irritated that the transfer student is already so popular with the ladies. Throughout all of this, Kaido does not let his guard down for a second, finding it odd that the lance has still not made a single move. He wonders what the assassin could possibly be planning. The Lances are an elite group composed of the top 100 assassins in the organization, each assigned a number. Out of them, the top 12 are known as the Legendary Spears, who are commanded directly by their supreme leader, Odin. Each of these insanely overpowered assassins possesses extraordinary abilities that rival those of 1,000 men. When it comes to assassinations, these individuals can easily overcome the army of an entire nation. These elite warriors are deployed only for the most critical missions. Kaido comes to the conclusion that their involvement can only mean the organization is hell-bent on targeting Yuzuha. He looks down in sadness as the painful memories from his last mission resurface. He figures that the assassins must be after the secret treasure that the chairman had supposedly stolen from them. It continues to bother him that if Akatsuki decides to act at the school, he may not be able to protect the lives of everyone there, including his childhood friend, with his current high school student's body. Sometime later, everyone returns to their classroom, but the students still do not stop fawning over Makoto, constantly begging him to join them for karaoke. He is an instant hit with the young women, who begin to crush on him even harder once he reveals that he practiced a bit of basketball back in the United States. Meanwhile, our hero watches the situation from a distance and realizes that Akatsuki will not be making his move today. He makes a mental note to remain on full alert the following day. Just then, he hears Yuzuha call out to him and ask if he can go somewhere with her after school. The boy instantly rejects her offer without even hearing her out, insisting that she should just go straight home for the day. However, out of nowhere, a hand rests on his shoulder, and Makoto appears from behind to greet the girl cheerfully by her name. This instantly sets off all sorts of red flags for Kaido, confirming that the assassin is seriously targeting Yuzuha. Makoto introduces himself, but Yuzuha points out that he is already quite famous as the attractive new student. She then asks how he even knows her name, since they have never actually met. The cheerful transfer student tells her with a carefree smile that she is the high school girl who inherited the Akagi group fortune, which completely catches her off guard. She suddenly gets a bit depressed while Makoto continues, saying his father is indebted to the chairman and that he was instructed to look after her. When he tries to invite her somewhere, our boy suddenly cuts in. He makes an excuse that he hurt his finger during practice and needs to go to the nurse's office. The boy gives him a cold death stare, which convinces the assassin to play along with the excuse, and the two boys part ways with Yuzuha. She looks back with a smile and thanks Kaido for protecting her from weirdos once again. A few moments later, as the two are standing on the rooftop, Makoto admires the view and goes on about how wonderful the prime of a high schooler's youth is. He then looks back at Kaito and jokingly asks if he brought him up there to confess his love, but our boy continues to give him the silent treatment. Makoto simply laughs it off and adds that Yuzuha is honestly quite cute up close, but says he cannot believe that she is the chairman's daughter. Kaido gets straight to the point and demands to know what his true goal for coming here is, wondering if it is revenge for the purple-haired man. The transfer student looks as unbothered as ever and casually asks if he is actually the one who took out Sancho. He begins to analyze his physique and finds it surprising that he managed to win against the Lance with only a couple of minor injuries. Our hero repeats his question, becoming visibly more annoyed by the second. The assassin finally drops his innocent act and admits that he wants to get his hands on the secret treasure that Yuzuha inherited from her father, which fully confirms the boy's suspicions. Akatsuki continues, clarifying that they do not even know what the treasure actually is and just want to obtain information for now. He then offers our hero a chance to join their organization, since he is clearly stronger than some of their existing assassins. The boy adds that the organization only targets bad guys, they make good money, and Yuzuha might even reveal the location of the secret treasure to him since he is so close to her. Akatsuki gives him a nasty smile and warns Kaido that it is a very good offer, suggesting that it is the only way he and the girl might manage to survive their encounter with the organization. He then walks to the edge of the roof and holds out his hand, threatening that if Kaido resists, innocent students are going to get hurt. Refusing to let that threat stand, our hero immediately dashes toward the assassin and launches a barrage of quick attacks. Makoto manages to dodge each one with ease and compliments Kaido, noting that his swift moves could rival those of a professional. Just then, our hero manages to grab onto his arm, revealing that he knew the assassin would try to use bombs. The tiny cube is his unique assassin item, a tool with which he combines explosives and martial arts, a method well known in the organization as Biden's default technique for annihilating his targets. The mention of his codename catches the assassin completely by surprise. He jumps back and exclaims that Kaido possesses far too much knowledge for an ordinary person. Makoto then holds out 6 more bombs in his hands as he smiles like a lunatic and states that he is about to raise the stakes. With determination in his eyes, Kaido jumps around the roof and tries to catch the bombs. He manages to grab the first 3 and quickly rushes toward the rest. Our boy then parkours over a wall and uses his feet to catch the other 3. Makoto watches the entire scene unfold and states that there is absolutely nothing normal about Kaido, before tossing another bomb out of nowhere toward the ground below. Kaido tries desperately to reach it while the assassin taunts him, saying that he cannot protect the entire student body by himself. Our hero fails to grab the cube as it drops into the field below. The lunatic in the back snaps his fingers and sets the bomb off. Kaido shields his face from the blast as the students below start to panic over the sudden explosion and rush away from the area. Makoto reassures him that he adjusted the bomb to explode before reaching the ground so that no one would get hurt, calling it a little bonus for managing to catch 6 of the bombs. Kaido is about to become enraged, but Makoto cuts him off and holds out even more of the bombs while he asks who he really is and if he will join their ranks. After thinking it over for a moment, our boy answers that he is just a normal high school student and would absolutely never join him. Makoto looks genuinely disappointed by that reply and figures that Kaido will not be convinced unless a few people die. In response, our boy simply drops one name, Gungnir. The mention of that name makes the assassin turn around with a wild look in his eyes. Kaido calmly states that he was once known as Gungnir. While the school speakers announce an evacuation, Makoto glares down at our boy and gets angry at him for even daring to say Gungnir's name. Just then, Kaido reveals he was only buying time. Before Makoto can process it, school officials arrive on the rooftop to check for any students left behind. The pink-haired young man gives him a 3-day deadline to decide whether to join them, warning that he will regret it if he refuses. After that, the students are dismissed from school early because of the explosion. There is an ongoing chatter about how no one was hurt by the huge blast. Yuzuha asks Kaido why he is not going home yet. He explains that he has something important to do first, and advises her to stay home since the explosion could have been another attack aimed at her. Just then, Kawai shouts with passion that security measures have been increased and that he has even started learning martial arts to protect Yuzuha, though his over-the-top enthusiasm only leaves her annoyed. Yuzuha asks Kaido to text her if anything happens, and he agrees. Once she drives away, he turns back to stare at Makoto, as if to let the assassin know that he is not fooling anyone. Meanwhile, as Makoto observes the boy, he is certain that Tugi would never allow anyone to disgrace Gungnir's name. Later, on the local train, our boy hopes that he has successfully diverted Akatsuki's attention away from Yuzuha and toward himself. He remembers that although Akatsuki is the youngest of the Divine Spears, his abilities are certainly no joke. Clenching his fist, he thinks about how he has grown accustomed to his new body, but he still has a long way to go before he can take on a Divine Spear in combat. That thought makes him worry that he might lose if they face off after 3 days. Yet, it does nothing to shake his determination to protect Yuzuha, even if it means he has to murder the pink-haired operative. Just then, our boy gets off at Shibuya Station and makes his way to the place where he was first killed. He leaps onto the balcony, questioning why he even came here, since Mirai would not be waiting for him. When the door suddenly swings open, he wonders if it could be a trap set by the organization. Despite that possibility, he strolls into the apartment, only to see that the crime scene has been cleaned up while the rest of the place still looks the same. He then hears a noise and snaps into his fighting stance, expecting an assassin, only to be surprised when his dog, John, stands there wagging his tail. John excitedly barks as the good boy runs toward him, and our hero notices the frisbee clamped in his mouth. The sight pulls him back to the days when he and Mirai would go to the park and play fetch with John. His eyes grow teary as he realizes that the dog still remembers him. Just then, something catches the corner of his eye, and he spots a photo of himself, Mirai, and John together at the beach. It makes him remember a time when they were on a road trip, and she told him that, Although she never understood the nature of his work, she always wanted him to be happy. He had answered that he was satisfied with his life and would die protecting her, but Mirai simply replied that a dead man cannot be happy and that she wanted him to try living for once. Now weeping like a widower, our hero regrets that he could never make her happy and that she now exists only in his memories. After that, he returns home and explains to his family that a couple had to give up their dog due to difficult circumstances. He says he brought the dog home and wonders if they could possibly keep it. Before he can bargain any further, Taro immediately agrees to adopt the pet, and Kyoko suggests they take turns walking it. When they ask for the dog's name, he explains that the previous owners called him John. Later, he texts Yuzuha to ask if anything has happened, and she replies that things are rather boring. She mentions hearing about his new dog and asks if she can come over to pet it, but he tells her not to come right now. He smiles at his phone because he knows what he must do. After that, he calls Akatsuki, who mockingly asks if he has already changed his mind since the 3-day deadline is not up yet. However, our boy states that he is done playing games and is ready to give Akatsuki a beating on the school rooftop before dawn. He vows to end this conflict once and for all because he is Gungnir. After hearing the name Gungnir, Akatsuki becomes so enraged that he smashes the phone in his hand. He believes someone like Kaido could never compare to Lord Tugi, who was the very definition of a perfect assassin. Yet despite that, Kaido still dares to claim the name Gungnir right in front of him. 3 years earlier in the Middle East, the two of them were on a dangerous mission together. At one point, Akatsuki made a critical mistake that left him completely surrounded by enemies. His left arm was blown apart, and it was clear he was about to die. Right as he steeled himself for the end, Tugi suddenly appeared and cut down every single enemy in the blink of an eye. Akatsuki had thanked him, saying he was only able to make it that far because of Tugi's help. He urged him to return alive, promising to take care of the rest of the mission from there. The next morning, the two of them meet on the rooftop. Akatsuki casually asks Kaido what he is thinking, coming to a fight while wearing a school uniform. Kaido replies that his plan is to defeat him first and then attend his classes afterward. Laughing, Akatsuki tells him they both had the exact same idea. He adds that ever since the previous day, he has been thinking about how Kaido's movements were almost identical to Gungnir's. He admits that he had once wanted to be like him, but now that Kaido has made him feel Gungnir's presence firsthand, he will never forgive him for it. At least not until he blows him into little pieces of roasted flesh. With a smirk, Akatsuki says that he wants to share a little secret before they start fighting. He reveals that he has planted bombs somewhere in the school. Because his left prosthetic arm is directly connected to his brain, he can detonate them instantly with just a movement of his fingers. If Kaido loses to him, then many people will die. The only way to stop the bloodshed is by severing the connection between the assassin's arm and his brain. That leaves only two options, either to cut off his arm or to destroy his brain. However, Kaido calmly points out that a third option exists. The bombs can also be disarmed if Akatsuki is simply knocked unconscious. Hearing this, Akatsuki is genuinely surprised. Kaito explains that, as he already told him, he knows him well. As Kaito gets ready to fight, he states that he did not come here to kill him. He only came to stop him. With a confident smile, Akatsuki asks if Kaito truly believes he can pull that off. Then, without warning, he dashes forward and unleashes an attack. Akatsuki manages to dodge it, but our boy notes that his only advantage lies in knowing the assassin's tactics and personality, because the physical performance of his current body is nowhere near the same level as his own was. Akatsuki tosses several bombs into the air, and when they detonate, the blasts are aimed to destroy his target's eyes and ears. He follows up by swinging a left hook. However, since Kaito already knows all about this tactic, he swiftly dodges the attack and moves in to land a punch to Akatsuki's chest. In midair, Akatsuki shifts his body and evades the strike. Then he counters with a solid punch of his own, sending Kaito flying through the air. As Kaito steadies himself, Akatsuki says that flying backward to soften the impact was the right decision, because a direct hit from his prosthetic arm would have obliterated Kaito's arm completely. With a menacing smile, Akatsuki warns that if Kaito is truly Gungnir, then this is far from the full extent of what he can do. The punch has already cracked Kaito's ribs, and he realizes that the divine spears are not the kind of enemy one can defeat simply by knowing their techniques. Kaito thinks to himself that as a killer, a peaceful life was never meant for him. Yet if he is still alive, there must be a reason for it. No matter who he faces, he will win without killing anyone. He will survive for the sake of everyone who cares about him. With fierce determination, he throws his hardest punch yet, and the two exchange rapid blows. Suddenly, Kaido feels a sharp pain in his head. Akatsuki takes advantage of the moment, unleashing a flurry of strikes. Kaido tries to evade them, but he cannot avoid them all. He tells himself that he needs to focus more on reading his opponent's movements. Akatsuki lands a heavy kick, sending Kaido skidding backward. With the distance between them widened, he hurls another bomb and detonates it. A massive explosion erupts, and Akatsuki rushes in for the finishing strike. But since Kaido knows his every move, he is already prepared. Akatsuki throws a full-force punch, but Kaido blocks it, telling him that he can feel his rage and killing intent, and that something like this will not break his will. He will take in all of Akatsuki's anger and swallow it whole. Akatsuki senses that something is off and jumps backward. Meanwhile, Kaido holds his head as his senses become so sharp that he can detect not only the physical objects around him, but also the assassin's consciousness. Akatsuki is caught off guard by the sudden change in his opponent's attitude and wonders what exactly just happened. He thinks to himself that he launched the last attack from Kaido's blind spot and questions how the school kid could have possibly managed to block something like that, as if he already knew exactly where it would come from. He takes out a few more of the bomb cubes and states that things are starting to get more interesting. He bends over with a serious look on his face and says that while he does not know what Kaido is thinking, he promises to break through his defenses with the next move. Our boy takes a defensive position and realizes that Akatsuki is on the offense once again. The pink-haired assassin drops one of the bombs behind him and uses the resulting blast to send the other bomb cube flying at full speed toward Kaido. A huge explosion occurs, but our boy manages to dodge it by stepping to the side at the last second, which causes the item to explode right behind him. Akatsuki calls him impressive for managing to dodge his special attack, but he thinks that if our hero could be assassinated that easily, then there would have been no point in sending an elite spear like him. Our boy simply gives him the silent treatment and gets ready to take whatever the pink-haired assassin can throw at him. Back at his house, John wakes up from the sound of the explosion, and so does Kaido's mother, who wonders where the noise is coming from. She speculates that they might be fireworks. Meanwhile, back at the rooftop, the two are still going full force at each other. Still guarding with his fists, Kaido thinks that even though it is impossible to see Akatsuki's hands, he can still predict every move because he knows all of his patterns. Akatsuki tenses up as he prepares his next attack, but our boy expertly predicts that he is about to throw 4 bombs that are supposed to detonate 2 meters in front of him. Just as the assassin is about to activate them, Kaido kicks all of them in multiple directions to spread them out, which covers the whole rooftop in powerful explosions. Kaido manages to stay on his feet as he shields his face from the intense blasts, but then he predicts the assassin's next move and dodges an incoming punch from the left. Our hero returns the attack with a few sharp jabs of his own, which forces Akatsuki to go on the defensive as he starts realizing that something is definitely not right. He wonders what is going on, since he cannot even manage to land a single hit. The assassin thinks that Kaido's eyes and ears should have long been out of commission thanks to the bombs, not to mention the scorching heat that should make it nearly impossible to breathe. However, the look in our boy's eyes makes Akatsuki feel as if he can see through all of his movements, which causes him to flash back to the memory of his beloved Gungnir. He recalls when Kaido said he is Gungnir, but that only causes him to rage out as he yells at our hero not to screw with him. He demands to know if the high schooler truly is his Tugi, and if that is true, then why he appeared now of all times. On the other hand, Kaido is barely hanging on as he struggles to catch his breath, but he still manages to keep his fists up. He realizes that even if he can read the assassin's movements, the boy is still far too fast, and he cannot keep up in this untrained body for much longer. He jumps onto the ledge and makes up his mind to finally stop running away. At the same time, Akatsuki thinks there is nowhere left for the guy to escape. He picks up a handful of the bombs, thinking it does not matter if his moves can be predicted, and dares him to dodge the attack as he throws the bomb cubes toward our hero. Our hero locks in at that very moment and runs forward using every ounce of strength in his body, swearing to himself that he will never make anyone unhappy ever again. Akatsuki activates the bombs and lights up the entire roof like the sun, but Kaido keeps on advancing, even though he can no longer see. He senses the assassin in front of him and goes in for a strike. Akatsuki manages to dodge it and uses the bomb cube in his metal hand as he throws a powerful punch straight for our boy's head. However, Kaido anticipates him perfectly, blocking the punch with his elbow, which catches the assassin completely off guard. He follows the block with a devastating elbow, straight to the face. But he does not stop there. He yells Akatsuki's name and follows up with a savage punch to the body, then finishes him off with a kick straight to his gut. The blow shatters his metal arm and sends the assassin flying over the roof's edge. He falls unconscious as his body approaches the hard, unwelcoming concrete below. The scene then shifts to a flashback where the young assassin tells Gungnir to forget about him and get out of danger. Our hero tells him that he does not want even a single one of his friends to die. Gungnir figures that this sort of mindset does not suit an assassin, but that is exactly why he made the choice. No matter how big the opponent is, he is going to pursue his own sense of justice. He finally wakes up and asks Kaido why he saved him. He replies that his only priority was to disarm the bombs and that he never intended to kill him in the first place. The assassin smirks and tells him that he cannot beat the whole organization alone. Kaito stays firm, stating that he will no matter what, because that is the only sense of justice he can have as a former assassin. The familiar words and look catch Akatsuki by surprise, reminding him of Gungnir, while Kaito states that no matter if it is the Great Will or Odin, he promises to defeat them all. That statement causes Akatsuki to burst into laughter. He repeats Kaido's words and calls him insane to even think of such a thing. To Kaito's surprise, the assassin now believes him, that he really is Tugi. The boy smiles and says that only someone as insane as Tugi could say something as wild as that, while our hero just looks at him in surprise. The pink-haired boy then gets to the main topic at hand and asks him why he is in such a frail body when he should be 6 feet underground. Kaito replies that he was also sure he had died back then, but when he woke up, he was suddenly in his current body. He points to his brain and says that for now, it is all that remains of Tugi, which makes Akatsuki sit up in genuine surprise. Our hero continues that the one who gave the order for the original hit could only have been Odin, a revelation that completely drains the color from Akatsuki's face. Kaito then tells him that he definitely needs to get stronger and asks Akatsuki if he will lend him his help, which makes the assassin flash back to that scene from their past once again. Akatsuki laughs and tells him to stop kidding. He picks up his broken metal arm and says that he cannot kill him no matter who gives the order, now that he knows for sure that Kaito is Tugi. Our hero asks if he is going back to the organization, but the assassin flatly denies it, stating that returning after such a loss is impossible. He then asks the kid what he plans to do. Akatsuki gets serious, saying that he will decide his own path after he has looked into everything for a while, since he still finds it impossible to believe that Odin would target Tugi. He tells our hero to get going as well, since the police are probably on the way, and jokes that the school will likely be closed for quite some time. Our hero watches him walk off and begins to call out to him, but all of a sudden, he collapses onto the ground. He wonders what just happened as he feels his mind slipping away. Meanwhile, some unknown assassins walk into the scene and proceed to retrieve Gungnir as planned. A voice starts calling to our hero, telling him to wake up. He wonders where the voice is coming from. His eyes finally open as he looks around, questioning where he is, and he realizes that he is back in his original body. The voice then says again that he has finally woken up and tells him that they are both a part of one another now. The original Kaito slowly floats toward him, which makes Tugi's eyes go wide in surprise. Kaito calls out to him again and tells him to protect Yuzuha with that power. Tugi refuses to let go as he shouts for the boy and reaches out to him. Right then, he wakes up soaked in cold sweat and is greeted by a friendly canine face. While lying on the ground, he wonders where he is now. Downstairs, his parents are watching the news, which is reporting another explosion at the school. Both are extremely worried about the bomb blast. Kyoko asks if they should take Kaito to the hospital as she reads his text messages, which say that he came home early and went to sleep because he felt dizzy. His father asks if she is worrying too much, saying Kaito is probably just exhausted from everything that has happened. He reassures her that their son will be fine once he gets some rest. Meanwhile, Kaito stares at the ceiling, thinking that his head still feels fuzzy, and realizes that he has slept for half a day. He remembers getting dizzy on the rooftop, then waking up in his room with his wounds already treated. He recalls that Akatsuki finally believed he is Tugi, yet he wonders if he showed enough strength in this weak body to truly convince him. That incredible feeling he had earlier was as if Akatsuki's emotions were flowing into him, and without that, there was a high chance he would have died. He still wonders what happened to his body, but then his phone rings. When he sees that it is Yuzuha, he quickly answers and yells to ask if she is all right, which surprises her. She immediately flips the question on him, asking why he has ignored all her messages since the morning. He apologizes and explains that he had been asleep until now, adding that he is just glad she is safe. She tells him about the explosion at school that blew the roof away and informs him that classes are now canceled for a week, all of which he pretends to know nothing about. She realizes that something is off and asks Kaido if he was involved in this incident, which makes him break out in a cold sweat. She then starts scolding him, saying he is always getting into trouble. She even asks if, instead of getting sick, he had actually gotten hurt in the school explosion. Kaido sits up and thinks to himself that this girl is as sharp as ever. He turns the question back on her and asks if she has been in danger too. He then tells her not to worry anymore because he has decided that no matter what happens, he will protect her. Yuzua turns redder than a tomato and demands to know what has gotten into him, telling him not to distract her with cool hero talk. While she keeps talking, Kaido's mom answers the doorbell downstairs. She finds no one there and instead sees a package on the ground. Soon after, there is a knock on Kaido's door. His mother asks if he is awake and says there is a package for him, which she leaves in the hallway. Kaido finds it suspicious since he did not order anything. His mom tells him to come for dinner if he is feeling fine, while Yuzua, noticing it is late, says goodbye. Kaido picks up the box and weighs it in his hand. He senses no traps, but when he opens it, his eyes widen in shock as he spots his original assassin knife along with a card. He wonders who could have sent this to his house. When he picks up the card, he sees a set of coordinates and tells himself that he must meet the sender, no matter what. Our hero wanders through Shinjuku, following the location coordinates written on the note that came with his knife. He notices that although the place is close to the station, the amount of foot traffic drops sharply. This makes him wonder if the sender of the note might be hiding somewhere like this. He questions whether it could be the person who transplanted his brain, theorizing that it must be the original Kaido. Eventually, he arrives at an apartment complex and immediately senses that it would make the perfect hideout. He steps into the lobby, but after finding it empty, he moves ahead. He finally stumbles upon an entrance to a lower level and quickly suspects it to be a trap from the person who sent the knife. When he reaches the basement parking area, he opens the door and strolls forward, wondering why he was called to this place. Suddenly, he barely manages to dodge a sneak attack. Spotting an arrow behind him, he sees the person holding the crossbow reveal himself alongside a female accomplice. She remarks that dodging the arrow could not have been a fluke, since the real Gungnir would even be able to dodge bullets. She then comments that our guy's brain appears to be working great. Our guy, who doesn't recognize them, asks if they are the ones who called him there. The crossbow wielder simply says that he is not worthy of getting answers and loads another arrow. The man shoots an arrow, stating that the hero must prove himself by defeating them. Our boy dodges it in the nick of time and catches sight of a pair of glowing eyes glaring from the shadows. The woman swings her elbow, but he glides out of range just in time, causing her to strike a pillar instead. Meanwhile, he quickly gauges that the duo has the capability of a mid-level lance. As she launches another strike, he deflects her punches while noticing that they are using an old organization tactic, creating an opening with a crossbow and finishing the target with close-quarters combat. Just then, the other man swings a hook from behind, but our boy pivots and moves in for a double strike. He lands an uppercut to the woman's stomach and a roundhouse kick to the man's chin. The impact sends the woman flying while the man staggers back, wondering what kind of force hit him, before he jolts forward to try again. Our guy spots the moves coming from a mile away, just like in the last fight. He predicts that the opponent will open with a 4-strike combo, starting with a left downward slash. Before it even begins, he realizes he doesn't need to dodge. He blocks the first blow and drives a jab into his opponent's chest. As the fight continues, his abilities of spatial awareness, reaction speed, and action prediction accelerate dramatically, and he completely overwhelms the two assassins. The woman quickly realizes that they were not defeated by some child, but by the strongest killer among them, known as Gungnir. Just then, the crossbowman laughs and compliments the hero, saying he isn't bad, but adds that he is done playing. He reaches into his pocket, but his partner yells at him to stop because his action goes against their orders. He shouts back that he cannot end the fight after being humiliated like this. Suddenly, a third voice tells him to stop. A familiar figure steps into view, greeting our boy Tugi and remarking that his brain transplant was a success. Our guy instantly recognizes him as the organization's doctor, Kyosuke Kuji, and accuses him of being behind the entire brain transplant, linking him to the organization. But the doctor tells him to calm down, explaining that although he was the one who called him there, he was not the one who carried out the brain surgery. He adds that he has also left the Great Will organization and promises to tell him everything that happened on the day he died. Completely confused, our boy turns to Kuji and asks who he is. Kuji replies that he will explain everything and tells Kaido that there was an order to kill him. The one who carried it out was none other than his partner, Hayate. At the mention of that name, our hero's expression quickly shifts to anger. Next, Kuji explains that the order was highly confidential, known only to a select few, and he was one of them. He says that he was the one who leaked all the information, which allowed Kaido's brain to be recovered before it could be hidden away by the organization. Hearing that, Kaido asks if that means Kuji betrayed the organization. He then demands to know about the other two. Kuji answers that they are members of Agros, a special unit operating under the direct command of the Japanese government. The sole purpose of this unit is to annihilate the Great Will organization. He adds that they are more commonly known as Argos, and they are the ones who transplanted Tugi's brain into Kaido's body. At that, Tugi grows visibly irritated upon learning that his brain was handled by the Japanese government. Raoul comments that it was his job as a public servant, while Reika politely says that she is pleased to meet him. She then explains that the government views the Great Will organization as its greatest threat. Raoul adds that Tugi's brain was preserved solely because they needed his help. Meanwhile, Kaido struggles to process everything he has just heard. Kuji tells him that they had originally been monitoring the progress of his brain transplant, and they were relieved that they did not have to kill him. However, given the situation back then, his death had seemed inevitable. Hearing that, our boy asks them if they knew he was going to be assassinated. Then they must have also known that Mirai was in danger. He gives them a cold-blooded stare, and it is so sharp that Reika gets scared. Raoul quickly says that they have no idea about it, claiming they were not even present at the time. As his head begins to throb, our boy grabs it with one hand and asks if the strange power that lets him sense killing intent is also a side effect of the brain transplant. But before anyone can respond, he suddenly collapses to the ground unconscious, leaving everyone frozen in confusion about what to do. While the others are concerned, Kuji seems more intrigued by the mysterious ability he just mentioned. Back at the Great Will organization, Hashima asks Izumi if Akatsuki has reported anything. Izumi replies that there has been no contact at all, and Akatsuki has even cut off every form of communication. Izumi admits that Akatsuki was always difficult to deal with, but he knows that the 12 divine spears are allowed to do whatever they please, so long as they do not defy Odin. Hashima then asks if he believes it is possible for a member of the 12 divine spears to be defeated. Izumi scoffs at his question, saying it is rare to hear a joke from him. He comments that unless they are dealing with Gungnir's ghost, he cannot imagine Akatsuki losing to anyone else. Hashima agrees that Gungnir's strength was monstrous, but he reminds him that the man is already dead, and his body was disposed of long ago. Still, Izumi mentions there are rumors that their own intelligence network may have discovered something related to that. Both men agree that if there truly is a spy among them, they need to act swiftly before the situation worsens. Fueled by anger, Hashima states that they must eliminate Argos first before turning their attention toward the seat of Fenrir, and Izumi firmly agrees. At the same time, our boy once again finds himself inside the Mind Realm and quickly recognizes it as the place he has been to before. The original Kaido appears before him and explains that this is the place where their minds have merged. At that moment, Tugi confirms that he now understands Kaido's identity and asks if this strange space is his power. Kaido tells him that he will be able to use it in its truest sense as long as he learns to trust his own instincts. Tugi wakes up and notices the situation feels strangely similar to the one after his fight with Akatsuki, where he also collapsed from headaches and dizziness, only to awaken with Kaido's consciousness present. Sitting nearby, Kuji tells him that they are currently inside one of his hideouts, which connects directly to the parking garage they were in earlier. He then explains that it has been exactly 1 hour and 50 minutes since Kaido collapsed until he finally woke up. He also ran several tests on his brain while he was unconscious, confirming there was no issue with the neural connections. However, the brain's activity is operating far beyond the normal range, and it spikes even more during combat. According to Kuji, the killing intent Kaido senses is likely caused by this heightened brain activity. While he admits that having an expert's opinion would be ideal, for now, he can say with certainty that the condition is extremely dangerous. Kuji warns him that the overload has already caused him to be in a coma-like state for hours, and if this continues unchecked for too long, the strain will become fatal. Our hero stands up slowly, gripping his knife and pointing it straight at Kuji. He coldly reminds the man that he still has not answered the question from earlier. He demands to know if Kuji allowed Mirai to be taken just so he could recruit him. Keeping his voice calm, Kuji replies that he had no knowledge of it, so there is no reason for Kaido to take his anger out on him. The man then asks if he would have preferred to die alongside her. Before the tension can break, Raoul suddenly kicks the door open, and his voice cuts in as he tells our boy to put the knife away. With a serious look on his face, he taunts the man, saying that the Great Will Organization is a dangerous group aiming to destroy the world, and now one of its crazy former members is sitting there trying to lecture them. Kuji steps in, explaining that Argos believes there are two keys to defeating the organization. The first is Gungnir, while the second is a sacred treasure known as the Seed of Fenrir, something they are determined to protect at all costs. Hearing this, our hero's mind immediately flashes back to the time Akatsuki went after Yuzuha for this very reason. He then asks what they expect him to do. Hearing that, Raoul wastes no time in needling him again, saying that now he finally sounds cooperative. But Kaido assures them that bringing down the organization is already something he has decided to do, with or without them. Raoul agrees, because a shared goal makes him easier to trust. With that, Kuji lays out their plan. They are going to target one of the core facilities of the organization where our hero once worked. Few even know of its existence. It is the research institute where forced human evolution, known as Avalon, was studied. It is also home to a special team dedicated to researching the Seed of Fenrir. If they can investigate Avalon, they can uncover everything about the treasure. Kaido thinks that it may also lead him to the truth behind why Yuzuha is being targeted. He then tells Kuji to give him the full details of the operation. When the day finally arrives, an aircraft soars high above an unknown location. Kuji stands beside him, explaining that if he succeeds in stealing and destroying the research, it will deal a massive blow to the organization. The operation is about to begin, and as he readies himself for the mission, the clock ticks down, and only 5 minutes remain before infiltration begins. As 3 minutes remain before the chopper reaches the target location, Raoul glances over at Kaido and asks if he is feeling scared. Kaido calmly replies that he feels the same way Raoul does, though in his mind, he quietly thinks that the moment he has been waiting for is finally about to happen. In the operations room right before the attack begins, Kuji lays out the details of the mission. He explains that the research facility is divided into two main sections: the above-ground complex, which has 20 floors, and the underground complex. In the past, this place served as a training ground for assassins, but now it focuses on research aimed at producing mutant assassins through genetic manipulation. Hearing that, Reika comments that it is basically a factory that turns ordinary humans into monsters. Continuing his briefing, Kuji states that their main target is located on the 3rd floor of the underground section, where the most valuable data is stored. This includes crucial information on the Seed of Fenrir. Then, Raoul outlines that the mission objective is to retrieve the data and, if possible, destroy the facility as a whole. For this, they will split into 2 teams, with one of them drawing the attention of the security forces, while the other infiltrates the building. Although Avalon is an extremely classified facility, its defenses are not on the level of a proper military base. Still, infiltration will be difficult since they have no precise knowledge of the internal layout. Kaido volunteers to handle the infiltration himself. Raoul gives him a sly response, saying that was the plan from the start, and hinting that he already knows the reason Kaido has been kept alive up to this point. With a sly grin, Raoul says that our boy's life will be put to use for the sake of world peace, and adds that he will be accompanying him inside, meaning they will have to work together. With only 90 seconds remaining, Raoul and Reika begin giving their final instructions. The man orders everyone to remain at their assigned positions, while Reika tells the team that 10 people will accompany her to the rooftop, and another 10 will head to the main gate. She explains that their task is to create a noisy, attention-grabbing entrance to keep security occupied, giving Kaido and Raoul a chance to slip inside during the chaos. Our hero assures her that they will pull it off without fail, and Raoul informs him that they will be making their entry from the south side. As the ramp opens, Raoul notes that he can barely see anything through the thick clouds, but our boy replies that he can clearly sense Avalon right under them. As their landing point approaches, Kaido turns to Raoul and loudly announces that he is no longer going to be Gungnir. He is Kaido Fujiwara. With that, the operation starts, and everyone begins to jump off the plane. Our hero flies through the air, and Raoul tells him that he is going too fast. He doesn't listen because he is thinking that this is the facility of the Great Will Organization where they train assassins, and here he will find out why Yuzuha is being targeted. When they reach the parachute deployment zone, everyone opens their parachutes and lands safely. Raul gets angry with Kaido because he thought our boy was going to die during the landing, but it turns out that he is quite used to stunts like that. Visibly annoyed by his constant complaining, our boy tells him to hide his parachute quickly before someone sees him. They hide in the bushes and scout the area. Raul says things are going smoothly, just as Kaido had predicted, so they should be able to easily infiltrate from the southern entrance. He tells Kaido that he will open the shutter, and suddenly, a blast happens on the rooftop above. Reika sends the message that, according to the plan, both squads have started the diversion, and she tells the two of them to quickly infiltrate the facility. While Raul opens the shutter, our boy stands there thinking that the mission has finally started for real. As the shutter opens, Raul tells him to take the lead, and he will follow. Sirens go off, and an emergency announcement is made throughout the facility about suspicious activity, ordering the security team to immediately move to the rooftop and the main gate. The researchers inside the facility panic, wondering who would dare to attack the organization's base. As all the security personnel are occupied, Kaido and Raul quickly move through the hallways together. Raul thinks that Reika and the others are doing an excellent job and wonders if all the security has moved to the diversion points, as it is far too quiet. Suddenly, Kaido senses 4 enemies approaching, so he quickly moves to a corner and attacks them first. He knocks out the first one with a punch to the head. The others start to fire at him, but he moves swiftly and also knocks them out, each with a single sharp punch. Raul is surprised to see how fast he eliminated 4 enemies with just a knife. He wonders how much power Kaido was holding back earlier when he fought both of them. Kaido tells him that the stairs are just ahead and that they should move quickly. Watching all this on a monitor, Izumo notes that they are infiltrating the facility with just 2 people, but they are quite strong, as they defeated their enhanced assassins with incredible ease. Meanwhile, a new character named Omega tells him that the intruders look quite appealing, and asks Izumo if he can do whatever he wants if he eliminates both of them, expressing a desire for freedom. With a cheeky smile, Izumo agrees and reminds him that the task assigned to him by Odin is to protect Avalon at all costs. He tells Omega that he would like to see his power, and if he completes this task, he will not only be officially recognized as a lance, but will also become part of the 12 divine spears. After hearing that, Omega feels pumped up. This is the very first time he will get to use his powers outside of an experiment, and he is also being allowed to kill humans. On the other hand, Raul tells our boy that they have to move, as more enemies are coming, but he just stands there. While Raul urges him to move on, Kaito remains still and declares that this is a place solely designed to produce strong killers like him through inhumane experiments. He vows to reject their twisted belief that the only method to change the world is by taking innocent lives.